On the occasion of the Chinese Lunar New Year, the Year of the Snake, Hi-Ho Group wishes everyone a prosperous and successful business in the new year. Looking forward to providing you with better service.
Bolts. Screws and studs are used extensively in the manufacturing industry, although similar in appearance. However, each item has its own unique purpose and characteristics. The main difference between bolts and screws lies in their purpose. Bolts are typically used to assemble two or more unthreaded components. When used in conjunction with a nut, the bolt will remain secure on the unthreaded component, thus holding it together and serving its intended purpose. On the other hand, screws are used with threaded components. This doesn't necessarily mean that the component or components used with screws must be threaded, as the installation of the screw may create the threading. Bolts are typically used to create bolted joints, which is a combination of the nut applying a clamping force, pinning the joint sideways. This is why many bolts have an unthreaded shank. It creates for a stronger and more effective dowel. Therefore, unthreaded shanks have long been a defining characteristic of bolts when comparing them to their screw counterparts. If all of that sounds too confusing, here is another definition of a bolt. It is a threaded fastener that is intended for insertion through holes in components that are already assembled, usually used in conjunction with a nut. A screw is an externally threaded fastener that can be inserted into holes of pre-assembled components, used to connect with a preformed internal thread or create its own threading. Screws are typically tightened by twisting and turning the head with torque. And last but not least, a stud is a metal rod or shaft featuring threads on both sides. Most studs are long, although sizes can vary depending on its intended purpose and application. Studs do not have a head like a screw or bolt that can be turned for tightening, whether it is a screw, bolt or stud. They are typically all made of a few different metals. This includes carbon steel, stainless steel, brass, nickel alloy and aluminum alloy. Manufacturers must use the highly quality metals to reduce the risk of cracking, rusting and other damage, as such damage can prove disastrous for the components in which it is used.